Hey guys, how are you? Put a post in the comment below and let me know how you're feeling and how things are going. I am so proud of you. I have gotten Facebook messages, I've gotten text messages, and just seeing your comments on Facebook about how much more energy you already have, how you feel less bloated, how you're starting to feel like your old self again. That is awesome. And let me tell you that this is only the beginning. And this is why we focus on non scale victories, because there are so many things that are happening to your body right now for the good. And we don't want you to miss out on any of those. So, really continue to think as we go on through this process about how your body's adjusting and how it's changing, how you might feel like you have a clear mind. Maybe you're more patient. Maybe you have more energy during your workouts or just to get you through the day. Those are all things that we want to celebrate together. So, great job on that. You have started off with a bang, and we are going to just keep that momentum going through week 1, which is where we're going to start tracking macros. And that's what this video is about. Now, I'm posting this a couple days early because I thought it would be most beneficial for you guys if you had the information on Saturday. That way, if you have time over the weekend, you could start downloading the app, putting your information in, and just playing around with what it's like to track foods and kind of what kind of macros we're looking at, and just to get you started on the process. You don't officially have to start tracking your macros until Monday. But again, I just thought this information would be more helpful for you to have over the weekend so you could explore it a little bit. Don't feel any pressure though. While we're in this video training today, I am going to go over with you what macros are, because some of you might be like, what are you talking about? I am going to talk with you about why we're tracking macros and why we're not tracking calories. And then we're going to go over some of the features that are in MyFitnessPal. We're going to keep pushing along with those things that you learned last week. Your focus really was on intermittent fasting and learning all of the benefits that come along with that, such as giving your body, digestive system some time to rest, and that empowers your cells to be able to regenerate and to have a faster turnover rate. So it's just better for your overall body. And then we focused on whole food nutrition, trying to start making those swaps where we could. Maybe you're making your own salad dressing with olive oil and balsamic vinegar and some lemon juice and some spices. Or maybe you've roasted some extra veggies and that's what you're grabbing for a snack instead of the bag of potato chips. So just keep being mindful about how you can incorporate as much whole food nutrition as possible. Our goal is to get you by the end of the 6-week program to be intermittent fasting most days of the week, if not all, and then to be practicing at least 80-20, if not better, with your whole food choices. And again, we're continuing to eliminate dairy and to eliminate gluten. That doesn't mean they have to be gone from your life forever, although dairy unfortunately is gone from mine. I knew that I had issues with dairy, but through this process, when I tried to reintroduce it into my system, I realized just how much it was disrupting my skin and my digestive system and just overall feeling and energy levels. So after the 6 weeks, you will have an opportunity to reintroduce gluten and dairy, and you can see how your body reacts to it. Some of you may not have any problems at all, and you'll be able to add that back into your diet. Some of you might be like me and realize that you'd rather feel better than have that momentary enjoyment of eating dairy or gluten. So we're going to continue those, and we're going to add the next layer on, which is to start tracking your macros. So let's talk about the first thing. What are macros? Well, that kind of plays into why we track macros and not calories. Macro is short for a macronutrient. So every calorie is made up of a macronutrient, which is either carbs, fats, or protein. And the reason that we track macronutrients rather than calories, if you just think about, say, I'm on a 1500 restricted myself calorie diet, okay? And I'm hungry at night and I look and I still have 150 calories. So I'm like, oh, I've really been craving some potato chips. I'm going to go and grab a bag of potato chips and I'm going to eat 150 calories of potato chips. Well, first of all, that's not going to be very many potato chips, and you're going to be disappointed and probably end up eating more. Or you're going to feel the side effects of it that night by not sleeping well, by tossing and turning. The next morning, you're going to be craving food right when you wake up. And your workouts probably are not going to be as effective. You're going to feel sluggish, okay? Or I could be tracking my macronutrients, and it could be the end of the day, and I could look at my macronutrients and realize, oh, I still have 40 grams of carbs that I need to eat. What could I eat that fits within those 40 grams? I could make myself a bowl of oatmeal with organic oats, put a little maple syrup on there, possibly even cut up an apple and cook it and put it in there. Or maybe I have a leftover sweet potato that I've roasted and I eat some of that. So the difference there is volume. I'm going to get more oatmeal or more sweet potato than I would a bag of potato chips. But more importantly, it's the nutritional value that we're feeding our bodies. My body is going to do something with those carbs, store them as energy for the next day when I get up and I try to do my workout. Versus the processed food that cause inflammation in our bodies, like those potato chips. Okay, so that's why we track macronutrients and not calories. Sorry, I'm moving around. I'm in the workout room sitting on the floor on my knees because all the other rooms in my house are occupied right now. So that's why we track calories or macronutrients instead of calories. Now, what are macronutrients? Like I said, they're carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Let's talk about what each one of those does for our body and why they're so important for us to make sure that we're getting on a daily basis. All right, so carbs is our body's main source of energy. When we eat carbs, our body digests them and turns it into glycogen, which is stored in our muscles. And so when our body first needs energy, that's where it's going to go first. It's going to go to those glycogen stores or the carbohydrates that our body has turned into glycogen. So that's where we get the day-to-day energy in order to get us through the week. It's also crucial for our hormonal balance. And that's why long-term restrictions of carbs can mess up your thyroid. It can mess up your hormonal system, your adrenal glands. It's just not sustainable long term. And let's just be honest, God gave us fruits and God gave us vegetables to eat for our bodies. So any diet that is expecting us to cut those out in their entirety and for the long term is not something that's going to be sustainable. And that's the other thing that I love about the Faster Way to Fat Loss is that these are all things that we can put into place and live them out in our lives from now until forever with just making small tweaks with your coach along the way. So that's what carbs do. And then fats. Okay, fats are not the enemy. Fats will not make you fat. Your brain needs fat to function properly, all right? That brain fogginess, that mind fogginess, a lot of time is because we're not feeding our brain with what it needs in order to perform. Some examples of some healthy fats are avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil. We can get healthy fats from nuts. So those are some great examples. And then protein. Guys, this is the one thing that the protein percentages do not change when we get to carb cycling. Protein percentages do not change because your body has to have protein if you want to see body composition change, okay? You need it for two reasons. One, you need it to fuel your muscles and in order to build that lean muscle mass that we want. And two, because if our bodies are hungry and they're looking for sources of food, we want to have protein in our system so that it can use that protein as a source of energy and it doesn't begin breaking down our own muscles as a source of energy. Okay, so protein is so crucial. You know, you can find that in chicken and grass-fed beef, collagen peptides, and plant-based shakes. And so I said it in my video on Friday, but you're probably going to want to invest in finding a plant-based protein shake, especially for the ladies. It tends to be hard for us to get the amount of protein that we need in on a daily basis, and that's an easy way to incorporate it into your diet. Now, if you've been following the meal plan or even just looking over it, you've probably noticed that most meals have a balance of carbs, of proteins, and fats. So you can see how to incorporate all of those macronutrients into some daily meals. There's also some examples. I think it's called a macro cheat sheet in your portal or in your app, and it's under the Essentials tab, I believe. And it's just a page that gives you some examples of some fats, of some carbs, and of some protein. All right, so those are the three things that make up our macronutrients. So now let's talk about how we're going to figure out how much each one of us is supposed to have, okay? The percentages for each one of us is going to stay the same, but the amount is going to be dependent on our age. The amount of grams for each is going to be dependent on our age and our weight and some other factors. So we're going to go over that now, okay? So you have the background, you know what macronutrients are. Now, how are you going to track them? There is an app that you're going to download on your phone, and it's called MyFitnessPal. So just go into the App Store, download that on your phone. You're going to create an account. Once you have it all set up, you can also access it through their website, but it's easiest to get it set up in the portal, I think. So you're going to download that onto your phone, and it's going to ask you some questions. First of all, I think the very first thing it does is it notices if you have like a Fitbit or an activity tracker, if you have a smartwatch, you do not want that to sync with MyFitnessPal because that will change your macros for every single day based on your activity. And we're going to set your activity level when we first start getting it set up. So don't sync it. And once we get further along, I'm going to tell you to take pictures and send them to me, and we'll be able to notice if you've accidentally sunk it up at the top because it will add some macros or some calories up at the top. So if I notice that, I'll walk you through the process for turning those off, but it's a lot easier if you just make sure that it's not set up to begin with. And then it's going to just ask you some questions. So you're going to put in your age, you're going to put in your weight. Hopefully you've filled out that form, the new client assessment form, which has your weight and your measurements in it. Again, we do not focus on weight and weight loss. We are a fat loss program. We're going to change your body composition. Some of you may lose weight along the way. Some of you may not. I have not lost any weight. I have lost inches. I am changing my body composition. I am losing fat and I am gaining muscle. But the number on the scale is not changing, okay? So hopefully you weighed yourself last week. If you didn't weigh yourself this week, so you have that number that you can put into MyFitnessPal, and then we're not going to talk about that number again until we're at the end of the 6 weeks, okay? So you're going to put in your weight, and then it's going to ask you what your goal is, how much you want to lose per week, all right? Most of us are going to put in 1/2 pound per week. I know it's going to be super tempting to want to say 1.5, 2 pounds per week. That is going to put you in such a calorie deficit that it's going to do the opposite of what we want to do to our bodies, okay? We want to eat as much as we can. We want to fuel our bodies with as much macronutrients as we can in order to perform at our most optimal level. And that's not going to happen if we restrict ourselves too much, okay? So if you have, 15, 20 to 30 pounds to lose, we're going to do 1/2 pound per week. If you have more than that to lose, you can go up to 1 pound. I don't want anybody to go over 1 pound though, unless you've talked to me first, okay? Because we really want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in too much of a calorie deficit there. All right, and then you're just going to have to trust the process on this one. I trusted it. There's a part in Amanda Trust, the owner of the Faster Way to Fat Loss, if you watch her videos in the portal. I was a little hesitant about switching over to these workouts because I had been doing other workouts on another online program that I had a subscription to. And at the end, it really struck a chord with me. She said, If you came to the faster way to fat loss, then chances are what you were doing wasn't working. So give this a chance and let's see what this can do for your body. And I have just been amazed. Okay, so stick with that half a pound per week. And then the next thing that you're going to do is go to the goals section, and it's going to have it'll automatically put a breakdown in there for you for your carbohydrates. All right, and what we want to do is we want to change those. All right, so you'll see a little pie chart. You'll click on the carbs. We want to change your carbs to 45%. We want you to get 45% of your daily nutrition to come from carbs. All right, I think it's set up normally as 50% in MyFitnessPal. We want to get 25% from protein, and we want to get 30% of our nutrients every day from fat. Okay, if you set up MyFitnessPal to have those percentages, those combinations of 45% carbs, of 25% protein, and of 30% fat, you are going to be thriving. You are going to be feeding your body what it needs in order to perform at its best level. I'm telling you guys, after you start hitting your macronutrients for a couple weeks, you are going to be amazed at what you feel like in the morning when you get up. You are going to be amazed at your workouts and how you can get them in. I know some of us have been talking on Facebook in the Facebook group about, I don't know if I can work out in the morning before I've eaten anything. I'm telling you, once you start hitting those macro goals, you are not going to have any trouble getting through your workouts and not being hungry okay? So that kind of in a nutshell is what macronutrients are and how to set up MyFitnessPal. Now, once MyFitnessPal is set up, I might have to do another video for you guys. Let me see if I can get it to come up here. All right, so Porter, will you turn off the light and let me see if that makes a difference? No. All right, turn it back on. I'm not going to be able to get it to work. If I need to do another video for you guys, I'll do it with my phone and then I'll screen share it. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory once you get the app downloaded. Across the top, it'll tell you how many calories that you have. But again, we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on the macronutrients. Down at the bottom, there's a place that says diary. You're going to want to click on there. And then there will be a place for all your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and your snacks. There's places where it says add food. You just type in the food that you have, scroll through until you find what it is. You can adjust the amount. So I had pineapple earlier. It said 1 cup. I had half a cup. So I just scrolled down to say my serving was half a cup of, pineapple. And then just add it to there. And then as you're tracking, when you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the diary page, there's a button that's called nutrition. And there's 2 things at the top of that I'm going to want you to screenshot for me once you have this all set up. The first one is macros, and it'll be a pie chart. And that's just going to show me that you have your goals set up right with the 45% carbs, with the 30% fat, and with the 25% protein. And then the other tab that's up there is nutrients. And that's the tab that I check throughout the day, because it'll tell you how much protein you've eaten for the day, and then it'll tell you what your goal is for the day, and it'll tell you how many you have left, all right? So at the end of every day, that I want you to screenshot your nutrients tab for me so that I can see how you're doing on your goals, and then I can help you make suggestions if you're having a hard time getting in all of your macronutrients. And that just leads into me just reminding you that this is about the journey, that it's about progress over perfection, okay? Remember at the beginning of the video, I said your goal is to track your macros this week, not to hit them. Some of you will hit them within 2 days. Some of you, it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get the hang of eating what you need to eat, because eating whole foods is much more nutrient dense than eating the processed foods that you've been eating. So it's volume-wise, it's going to feel like more. So some of you may struggle to eat the amount of food that you need to eat, but if you work at it over time, I promise you it will happen. Some tips I would say pre-plan your meals or pre-track your meals. A lot of times what I do, I kind of have two go-tos that I have for breakfast. It's either quinoa with eggs and bacon and avocado, or I'll just do avocado, eggs, and bacon. Once we get to carb cycling, that's usually what I have Monday and Tuesday, or I'll have a protein shake. And then I usually know what I'm going to have for dinner, so I'll start by putting those two things in, and then I kind of see what I end up having left, and that's kind of what I eat during the middle of the day. And then I know I always like to have a bowl of oatmeal before I go to bed, so I almost always put that in too. That way I can ensure that I get that. You know, this is not a deprivation program. This is meant to be a lifestyle that is sustainable. So if you know that you are going to eat, go to the essentials tab, go out and eat, go to the essentials tab, and there's a restaurant guide that's in there. But you know, if I'm going to Mexican, I'll get fajitas. It has steak, chicken, and it's filled with veggies, and that's what I'll eat. But I'll put that in at the beginning of the day if I know that's what I'm going to do for dinner. I would go ahead and put that in at the beginning of the day, because then I can kind of backtrack and see what other foods I'm missing in order to build up to meeting those macronutrient goals. All right, and I just wanted to end by reminding you that MyFitnessPal is an app, or it's a tool that we use to get us started. Okay, it's going to give us a baseline, a place to start. We're putting in there that we want to lose about a half a pound a week, but we're not going to weigh ourselves, because chances are, especially in the beginning, you're not going to see the weight loss. You're going to see the fat loss, and that's going to be reflected through your inches in your measurements, through the way that your clothes feel, and through the way that you feel and things that you're noticing. All right, it's not necessarily going to be reflected in a scale, so stay off the scale and don't use that as your marker for success. All right, let me see, I gotta look at my notes. I think that is all that I have. Comment below with any questions that you have. I'm here for you. Go ahead and practice downloading the app and putting some foods in. Once you have the app all set up, take a screenshot of the macros with the pie chart tab. Send that to me. You can post it on Facebook in the Facebook group. You can text it to me if you don't feel comfortable everybody seeing it, but you know, they're all the same. I'll post mine on there once we start posting them. Or you can Facebook message me or email it to me, and I'll check those and I'll go over those with you. I know this might seem like a lot of information, but I promise you've got it. We have 5 weeks together to practice tracking our macros and to get it down. If you've been using the meal guides, that has helpful information down at the bottom. It'll tell you how many macros there are in each serving. So that's a tool, and then I'm a great resource for you too. I don't mind to share recipes with you. I don't mind to show you how you can put recipes into MyFitnessPal. Just keep those questions coming. Let me know how I can support you as a coach, and I hope that you found this video useful and the timing of this video useful, so that you're not trying to dig in and explore this at the beginning of next week. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy your weekend. Enjoy exploring MyFitnessPal if you decide to do that before Monday. And one other thing, if you decide to download it this weekend, this is actually in the app or in the portal on week 1, day 2. So you can go into the app and read more information. If you go to week 1, day 2, it'll give you more information. You can read more about it. And there's even, I think, under Essentials, this whole thing on MyFitnessPal too. All right? All right, guys. Have a good weekend. See ya.